Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with a character retrospective tonight. This is a character retrospective of Harmonica, the character from Once Upon a Time in the West, played by the late, great Charles Bronson. And this is, yes, my absolute favorite Western protagonist. Yes, Once Upon a Time in the West is my favorite movie, Western movie at least. Who is Harmonica, you might ask? Well, Harmonica, who's played by the late great Charles Bronson again, is a man set on revenge. You know, there are many revenge stories, and you might feel that Charles Bronson is in well over half of them, and John Claude is in the other half of them. You wouldn't be wrong, but jokes aside, this is a very different revenge story, or at least from the surface of things. You're not sure it is a revenge story. That isn't played out until later in the movie. I think that's one of the most key things about Once Upon a Time in the West. And I don't want to solely focus on the movie, because I am going to focus on the character here. This is something you find out during the movie. Harmonica is looking for Frank. He keeps making appointments with a man named Frank. Frank, played by the late great Henry Fonda, who is our movie's villain. Yes, Henry Fonda played a villain twice in his career. Once Upon a Time in the West would be his first time ever. And what a villain he would play. Now, you might say, why is Harmonica looking for Frank? It's quite simple. Harmonica, who is looking for Frank killed Harmonica's brother. He had him on a hangman's noose. He put his feet on Harmonica's shoulders. He put a harmonica in Harmonica's mouth and keep your ever-loving brother happy, and he could not hold his brother's weight, and his brother hanged. And there were people there who were there on Frank's behalf, not only witnessing it, but assisting in this endeavor. And those people would all end up dead by the hands of our gunslinger, Harmonica, Charles Bronson's character. And oddly enough, that's how this movie starts. It starts off with a gun duel, one of the most famous gun duels in Western movie cinema history, a 3-on-1 gun duel. Once Upon a Time in the West is a movie with many themes, and one of its biggest themes is, you'll notice Paul Estapa, Keenan Wynn is in this, Jack Elam, and at that point in time, those actors were known for playing good guys. So that is a bit of a theme in Once Upon a Time in the West. The guys who once played good guys are all playing bad guys in this movie. It's a fun theme to go with this fun film. And Harmonica does outduel the three gunmen. As he puts it, did you bring a horse for me? Looks like we're shy of one horse. You brought too many. Bang, 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 bang. And it's fucking awesome. Well, it's a great film. You should watch it. Really, they thought they missed Harmonica, but then they hear the harmonica playing. That's another reason they call this character Harmonica. Instead of talking, he plays. And when he better play, he talks. Harmonica isn't somebody who doesn't talk. There's just times he doesn't talk and chooses to play his harmonica to sort of speak for him in a way. Yes, he can talk, and he does, and it's a pleasure when he does talk. Bronson is amazing as this character. It's one of the most, in my opinion, iconic Western characters ever portrayed. Yes. No, I do not. And sorry. And really, okay. And really, he's so much fun to watch too when he's on screen, because there are so many other characters in this movie, and that's another thing. Charles Bronson's Harmonica, Henry Fonda's Frank, Jason Robert's Cheyenne, Claudia Carnell's Jill all have their own character themes. Yes, years before Halloween, Ennio Morricone had character themes, and it's beautiful in this movie. Um, the men who were there for Harmonica's brother's hanging are all killed. You don't get to see it, but Harmonica keeps mentioning their names to Frank. He mentions the first two. Dave Jenkins. Dave Jenkins died dead long time ago. Calder Benson. Benson's dead too. What's your name? And I love Harmonica's line to Frank. You should know better than anybody, Frank. You killed them. Basically hinting at Frank, you sent them to their death. Whether you want to realize this or not, you caused their death as much as I did. Yes, I pulled the trigger. Yes, I killed them. And I think that's one of the best themes of Once Upon a Time in the West that you don't necessarily get to see. But it sort of, though this movie isn't a ghost movie, it gives it a very ghost-like feel. Harmonica's character is a lot like a serial killer with a gun almost. He's not a cold-blooded murderer, but he is somebody who's out for revenge, and he's gone to great lengths to get where he's at here in this story here of Once Upon a Time in the West, to come full circle to finally meet Frank in a one-on-one pistol duel. That's what his appointments are all about. He wants to shoot it out with the man who caused his brother's death. And I love that. You also get many interactions. Harmonica has many interactions with Jill, and Claudia Carnell is actually is the star of the movie Once Upon a Time in the West. Is Harmonica my favorite character? I love Charles Bronson, and he is my favorite all-time Western character, but he's not my favorite character in this movie. That honor would go to the late, great Jason Robards as Cheyenne. And I love Cheyenne's lines. They're really great, and I'm going to do a character retrospective of him one day soon, too. I don't want to spoil too much, because I want to stick to Harmonica here. He also makes a deal, he being Harmonica makes a deal with Jill McBain. Because he tells Jason Robards Cheyenne says something to Jill McBain that I like. He goes, once you've killed 4, it's easy to make it 5. And Harmonica says this to Jill too. He says, Cheyenne's right. Once you've killed 4, it's easy to make it 5. They're not threatening Jill. They're both warning her that Frank is a very violent man, and it wouldn't be hard to kill her. Look at what they did to her the family she was coming to be with. Basically, her family. For those who don't know, Jill McBain married an Irishman named Brett McBain. And she was coming to live they married in New Orleans. She was coming to live with him here in the middle of the desert, a place called Sweetwater. So the punchline is there's water underneath the ground, and the train is going to go through that valley. The steam engines can't roll without water, and the water's underneath Brett McBain's ground. And he bought rights to build a town, to build a train station. And that's his big surprise. I hate to play spoiler, but I don't know how many people are really going to watch Once Upon a Time in the West. I hope many more, because, again, it's my favorite Western. And it's a Bronson movie you should watch. Absolutely. Again, Harmonica's interactions with Cheyenne are priceless. One of my favorite lines with him and Cheyenne, I love when Cheyenne says it'll be because he wants his men to help build the station. Because again, Cheyenne's an outlaw, and Cheyenne goes, it's the first thing she'll see when she gets back. Keep in mind, Joe McBain by this time has been kidnapped by Frank, and even Harmonica isn't so sure he's going to let her come back because he knows how dangerous and deadly Frank is. He's had too much experience with him. And Harmonica says, if she makes it back. He doubts. He's not doubting her. He's doubting Frank. He's more cautious of Frank, of what Frank will do. Again, remember the line, Once you've killed 4, it's easy to make it 5. And I think that really is stressed home here by Harmonica, Charles Bronson's character. My favorite line ever from Charles Bronson's character, um, hey, the gun. And what I mean by this is they do a little setup. It's one of my favorite lines. The setup of Cheyenne's introduction, and the light that he pushes down at harmonica. Who's playing the harmonica within the bar that they are in? It's such a cool scene. You got to see it to believe it. Now, there's a cut of this movie you might not get to see where Cheyenne has a mark on his face. Harmonica has a mark on his face. Harmonica gets beat up by the sheriff and his men in the other cut of Once Upon a Time in the West. So if you see that mark in the theatrical cut or the cut you own now that isn't that other cut, that's that cut. That's what you're seeing. My favorite all-time line from Harmonica, when him and Cheyenne are coming down the steps, and basically he's giving Cheyenne to the sheriff to get the money to buy the McBain land from Jill, just so Frank can't have the land. He says the amount that Cheyenne is worth, and Cheyenne says Judas was content with the less. He says some amount with less, and Harmonica says there were no dollars in them days. And I love Cheyenne's line of the sons of bitches. Jason Robards is just so much fun, and him and Bronson had great chemistry. So did him and Fonda, and him and Claudia Carnelli. Again, this is really a fun movie. What happens at the end if you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in the West? I hate to play spoiler, but Harmonica gets his revenge. He kills Frank, and he sets off into the sunset. It's my all-time favorite Western. If you have not watched Once Upon a Time in the West, what the hell are you waiting for? Go watch it. You will enjoy the hell out of it. You guys have a good night. Stay safe. Bye-bye.